1941, a date which will live.
Note that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima.
These forces met their match.
We have declared the war in
But we don't plan
By the
to
way, it's
surrender.
1024 by 768. That's the native resolution of this game, so if you're expecting 4K, forget it. It's a 20-year-old game, man. What do you want from me?
2052, the United States has officially closed.
The United States will go ahead with a national quarantine. The new plague virus.
This intro is like all the story you're gonna get in this game, by the way. Funnily enough, there's really not a great deal to the intro. I remember watching this when I was younger and being hyped out of my mind to play another Fallout game. By the way, the black borders will disappear once we get into the game. The game was natively 800 by 600, so even on the lowly resolution of 1024 by 768, the videos are window boxed because of they were recorded in 800 by 600.
Right here, pull over. Alright, ain't nothing in there.
Welcome to Chicago, boys! Revolutionary graphics for the day.
War never changes. It was the inevitable result of the path humanity had chosen. Everyone who entered into the conflict expected victory. Everyone was optimistic. But as the hostilities escalated, optimism faded, and society began to collapse. The great vaults were built to house the wealthy, the powerful, the influential, and those deemed necessary to their survival. Inside, resources and technology were stockpiled, a final defense against the coming Holocaust. With the past behind them and the present destroyed, they looked to the future. The sturdy Vault Zero was to be the nucleus of the Vault network, housing the greatest leaders, artists, and scientists. The inhabitants of Vault Zero were to reunite the vaults and lead the people to a new life, a new world. But after the bombs, the world would be a harsh one. To ensure the creation of a post-nuclear utopia, the Vault dwellers would need help. Machinery was constructed to tame a land hardened by the ravages of war, then tempered by nuclear winter. But plans were barely in place when the first missiles left the silos. During the destruction, communication between the vaults ceased. Entire vaults were lost. Those that survived were on their own. Not all vaults succumbed to the machinations of war. On North America's west coast, one group of military vault dwellers emerged almost unscathed. They surveyed the wasteland and squared their shoulders for the task ahead. These dedicated survivors salvaged the technology from the vaults. Technology that was studied, replicated, and fiercely guarded. For they knew that while their power came from numbers, their future lay in scientific knowledge. In time, they formed the Brotherhood of Steel.
The Brotherhood of
They
Steel!
used their knowledge to drive back the atrocities of the wasteland. Proclaiming themselves the technological saviors of mankind, they scoured the land in search of more technology, raiding mutant camps, bandit towns, and the broken remains of other vaults. But even they could not keep pace with the high tolls demanded by life in the wasteland. The Brotherhood found themselves at odds with their need for new blood versus their code of technological secrecy. The debate was lengthy. Finally, the Elders ruled against sharing the technology with outsiders, convinced that they would endure as they had before. Further discussion was discouraged, and the Elders ordered the minority on a mission across the wastes. Super mutants, the foot soldiers of a conquered army, had been forced into a retreat across the mountainous barrier to the east. The Brotherhood constructed airships and dispatched the minority to track down and assess the extent of the remaining super mutant threat. But disaster struck while crossing the Great Mountains. A great storm gripped the main airship and flung it far from its course. The mighty ship was badly damaged. The smaller sections were torn from the main craft, never to be seen again. Many of the expedition's leaders were lost to the winds. The fraction of the crew that still survived struggled to keep their ship aloft before finally crashing on the outskirts of a once thriving metropolis. A city once called
Chicago!
Broken, scattered, and scarred, they took stock of the situation and once again squared their shoulders to the task ahead. The Brotherhood had much to offer the surrounding villages. They traded advanced medicines in exchange for food and labor. They traded protection from bandits in exchange for new recruits. In time, their ranks began to swell. Separated by distance and ideology from the main Brotherhood forces, the minority was free to forge a new Brotherhood of Steel, one that reflected the ideals they had strived for all along. However, one's future in the wasteland is never certain, for an old power has awakened, also bent on making this land its own. Life in the Brotherhood is about to change.
Dun dun dun! So, here we are, the much maligned Fallout Tactics. Now once we actually get into the game, the black border will disappear. This border is also an artifact of the fact that the game is supposed to be 800 by 600. But it did ship with 1024 by 768 support. Now, there is a patch that allows support for any display size, but all it does is it just shrinks everything until it's tiny. So that's not helpful. So I use my usual trick here of changing my desktop resolution to 1024 by 768 so that the game has the native resolution that it's expecting. Oh, it's funny, I've got my old save games here as well from when I fiddled around with this game. It's so funny to me that, you know, I've never lost my files on my computer ever. So the files have always moved from machine to machine to machine to machine to machine forever. And I've got like 20-year-old save games here. It's kind of funny that the save games have outlasted pretty much every component in the computer 3 times over. Okay, so this game is mostly a game of combat. So there is definitely a correct way to build a character, but there were always arguments back in the day of what the ideal character was to make. Let's go with blue. This tough guy is basically Iron Man. But it's kind of weird because it says here it gives you you gain double EXP for playing tough guy, but you're only allowed to save in Brotherhood bunkers. Now, I don't know how long some of the missions are or how long they get, because I never finished this game. I actually only played about the first 10 missions and then I got bored of it. So I don't know if later on in the game there's going to be 2 or 3 hour-long missions, and then it's going to become a pain in the backside to not be able to save during a mission. And yet the temptation is there, because double EXP is obviously massive. That's going to save you going out into the wasteland and grinding up your levels for sure. So it's kind of a funny thing that they give you a perk for playing Iron Man, which is something I would normally do anyway. It's literally just the machinations of only playing in 45-minute to an hour-long sessions that makes that a tricky pick. I might just go for it and just see how it works out. I think in most cases you can leave missions in the middle of them and come back to them. I don't know if that's 100% true though. Missing out on double EXP for something that I would normally do anyway and makes no difference to me whatsoever is a harsh pill to swallow. Man, I am certainly not. Do you know what's funny? Is when I first played this, I was, I think 16, and I'm not sure if you were allowed to select that age. No, you are. What's the lowest age you can go to? 16. Haha! I think I might have been 15, because I think I distinctly remember not being able to put my real age in because the system would not allow the age to go lower. I was too young to be playing this game. Kind of a funny thing to think about. Right, well, anyway, I've always kept my real age a mystery. Not much of a mystery. So, let's just put a nice round number age in here. Not my real age. But closer to reality than 19 for sure. Okay, alright, let's talk about character building before I ruminate on pressing the tough guy box. Because gameplay-wise, that wouldn't affect me much, apart from giving me more EXP. I mean, to be honest, leaving it off would probably be more difficult. Because double EXP is actually such a huge benefit that actually, and since I'm not going to be sat here in front of you guys saving and loading and saving and loading and saving and loading like some people did, it's a funny thing that may actually make the game easier. I'm just worried about going on ultra long missions and not being able to just call it whenever I want. Okay, so here's the thing. Gifted is OP, or Gifted is basically just free points. So what Gifted does is it reduces your starting stats by 10%. Now, I don't know if that's a fixed loss. Yeah, it's a fixed loss. However, the increase in stats that you get will add a few percentage points to everything anyway. And it also decreases your skill points. You earn 5 less per level. But the thing is, if you use the bonus points to add 3 to intelligence, that's plus 6 points per level. So, effectively, it's a trait that pays for itself. Now, there is a trick with it. And that trick is to simply not take it early. And later on there's a perk called Mutate. And Mutate lets you change a trait. And so what you can do is you can play the early part of the game, then select Mutate, and swap in Gifted. And then all those levels that you got up until the point that you took Mutate, you'll get those skill points. The only thing is that then it costs you a perk to do that. And you could buy a tag with a perk, which would probably save you 45% in the long run anyway. So basically, there's no real reason to not take Gifted. Skilled, however, is rubbish because it slows down perk gain. Likewise, Night Person is a weird one. It's you know, there's Good Natured, which is a general boost, I think, because it only lowers, I think it lowers 4 combat stats. No, 5. No, actually, I think that's a general loss in this. So in terms of traits, the other one that's usually picked is Small Frame. You trade 50 carry weight for 1 agility point, which is well worth doing. The other one that people go for is Kamikaze. It decreases your armor class to 0. So you don't get any armor class from agility, which is going to cost you, depending on your agility, it's going to cost you 6 to 8 armor class, but you do 25% more damage with every attack. Which is a pretty serious damage boost. I prefer Small Frame just because it's easier to deal with. Personally, Fast Shot is also another good is another potentially good perk. The only thing about Fast Shot is aiming your shots in this is actually pretty good. In that an aimed shot to the head, I think you can aim for the eyes in this one as well. But there's something like a double or a triple damage multiplier for hitting someone in the face. So it's worth aiming your shots if you can. But it's up to you. You have a little bit of freedom, but most of these perks are not worth the effort, unfortunately. You never want to lose AP. You don't want to die way faster to poison and radiation. One-hander is kind of a weird perk. I think most of the best weapons in the game are two-handed, so it's not really worth it. Bloody Mess doesn't really do anything. Jinxed is an amusing one in the Fallout games, in that if you take 10 luck and Jinxed rarely affects you, but it ruins everybody else, which is very funny. So for a comedy build, that can work out quite nicely. And the other thing that people always debated about was charisma. And I will tell you why. If you take 8 charisma, or you get 8 charisma, you don't have to take 8 charisma. You can take 7 and use a perk to boost it to 8. But if you take 8 charisma, you can get a trait called... name escapes me right now, but it's something like Blessed, or... I can't remember. Divine Favor. That's what it was called. Divine Favor. And what it does is it decreases the time it takes for you to get perks down to every 2 levels. It also increases one of your stats by 1, which can allow you to go over the maximum. Now, the issue with that is that it's unlocked at level 15, I think, or 14. I can't remember. It's unlocked at level 14 or 15, and that's really quite far away. That's quite far down the line. And then you need to hit at least level 24 or 5 or 6 or something like that. You need to hit a very high level to actually, for it to start paying out. And that's a lot of charisma point investment. That's a lot of stat point investment for one skill that is going to lead to a really good character, but much later down the line, where you'll be carrying the charisma as baggage the whole way. If you're going to do that trick, then you want to bring charisma to 7 or 8, depending on whether you want to pay one perk to unlock the charisma level 8. And if you do that, of course, then you're then spending a perk to unlock the trait that gives you an extra perk, like extra perks. So you are further dragging out the time it takes for that to pay off. Most people finish the game by level 24 to 30, so I have read. So it may not be worth it. And if that's the case, you might as well take 4 in charisma, which also unlocks the loner perk, which improves all your stat rolls by 10%, which is actually a great perk, which is one that you can benefit from immediately. So anyway, just explaining that, because it is a strategy. I mean, if you were going to play this game until you're level 40 or 45 or 50 or something, then the Divine Favor trick, if you will, is worth it. Is worth the effort. Okay, so let's go over the stats again. Strength 6, because with power armor that gets you to 9, which is basically all the best weapons in the game covered, because many good weapons have a strength requirement. You can also take it to 10 with a perk if you really desperately want. Perception, at least 8, because this is a combat game and shooting is all you're going to be doing basically 99% of the time. So you want your ability to shoot people to be as high as possible. Endurance 6 unlocks some perks which you probably want, and once again, it's a combat game, so you're going to be fighting all the time, you're going to be attacking all the time. As discussed, charisma either 4 or 8 depending on your strategy. Int 9 because you took gifted, which is going to reduce your skill growth, so you need to put points into int to compensate. And then agility determines the amount of action points you get. Now, you'll note that taking a 9 in agility doesn't increase action points, but taking 8 does. So generally 8 is a solid amount, or you can go to 10. And then finally luck. Luck determines your crit chance and a few other things. You actually don't want to use it as a dump stat if you can help it, because, and some people do, but you are potentially setting yourself up for things to go horribly wrong on you. Now, as for the last point that I have here, since we're not going for divine... what was it called again? Divine Intervention. Because we're not going for that, we're never going to have an 11 stat. So 10 is the highest we're going to get if we decide to use perks to push up our stat points, which is a choice that we have. So I would personally take Perception 9, and then when the opportunity comes up, I'd push Int and Perception to 10, leaving most of the other stats where they are. Okay, skills. Now, thinking about the long run, if I remember correctly, none of the other characters that you recruit are very good with energy weapons. So you're potentially wise to take energy weapons. everyone will use small guns. It just can't be helped. You have to use small guns. There's no escaping it, because the whole beginning part of the game is nothing but small guns. You won't have energy weapons until later, and you know, once again, people would say, "Oh well, you can just rely on your other characters and keep, you know, and not take small guns, and then transition directly into energy weapons." But I just don't like the idea that my character is baggage for most of the game. That's a pain in the ass, if you ask me. As for the rest of this stuff, nothing is super important, in my opinion, to tag. It's kind of funny that Doctor is Perception plus Int, which I have really high, but it's still like 8%. Doctoring can be really useful, but so can lockpicking. There's a whole metagame around stealing things from people, which more or less allows you to break the game, break the economy of the game. If you get really good at stealing, you can just steal everything from everybody and always be equipped for everything. Many of these things are not useful. High trap detection is apparently, I've never gotten to the late game, but apparently it's very useful in the late game because there are traps everywhere. None of these other things are particularly requirements that you have to have or really 100% need. I have a very solid first aid score here, actually, which is quite nice. So let's go with lockpicking. That always results in some good loot. I would say that we probably want to build up some of these skills as time goes on as well. There is some wisdom in... You could say that there's some potential wisdom in not tagging small guns if you're going to go energy weapons, but I just want my character to actually be able to fight from the offset, so...
Alright, you mutated redneck green-skinned sacks of irradiated flesh, listen up! I am Paladin Reicheck. I am in charge of training you backward maggots in the art of war and survival. In my time in the Brotherhood, I have personally trained more than 50 initiates, and I am proud to say almost 14 of them are still alive and kicking. The elders have ordered me to mold you flabby, hip-slapping, berry-picking, rat-rubbing Brahmin kissers into capable warriors. And I am going to do it, even if it kills you. I will teach you how to eat, sleep, walk, talk, shoot, spit like a Brotherhood soldier. First level of training will be Recruitment Detail. You'll go to the surrounding villages and see what able-bodied primates are ready for an honest life's work. It is your duty to remind the village elders that if they want continued protection from the scum of this world, they will uphold their end of the bargain by providing resources and their best and brightest for Brotherhood training. Now get your weak-kneed, superstitious, soft-skinned, uneducated butts to the armory. You'll be issued basic weapons and armor. There are 3 simple rules to follow with Brotherhood equipment. If you damage your weapon, you will spend a week in the box. If you damage your armor, you will spend a week in the box. If you lose either, I'll kill you myself.
Welcome!
And one final thing, ladies. Welcome to the Brotherhood of Steel.
At ease, Initiate. My name is General Barnaky. I will be giving you your orders before every mission. But before that, I'd like to personally welcome you aboard. Considering that the Brotherhood basic training attrition rate is 85%, you should be very proud of yourself. Now, on to business.
On to
2 nights
Bismarck.
ago, raiders invaded the resource-rich tribal village of Brahmanwood. Their losses have been heavy, and they are now ready to accept the Brotherhood's conditions for protection. We will return their lands and rescue these primitive people in exchange for food and a portion of their older children for new recruits. We must expand our ranks to meet our objectives, which makes every village count. I don't know what is driving the raiders this close to our base of operations, but they have been punishing the surrounding area. Brahmanwood is one of many villages that is now occupied by raiders. The inhabitants that did not escape have been slain or imprisoned. Make no mistake, Initiate, they have killed a fair amount of our brothers. Do not underestimate them. You will take your squad to Brahmanwood, locate and eliminate the leader of the group of raiders. Once he is removed, his followers will surely fall into disarray. You will then use the Brotherhood's superior might and intellect to butcher the remaining criminals. This is a standard assault mission, so consult the map in your Pip-Boy for the latest intelligence on the area. One more thing, warrior. You must ensure that the village elder survives. He is the key to our plans for this town. According to the local tribal custom, he alone deals with outsiders. Without him, we can have no agreement with the rest of the tribe. Dismissed.
Alright, here we go. Welcome. Welcome to the Brotherhood of Steel, Rain. Now. Let's go and crank up the difficulty. Actually, this is probably not a good idea, because this is an old school game. But hey. Here we are. Like a chemical spill. Okay, so you also get Farsight, who actually is a pretty solid character, who is built reasonably decently. What she really needs is Gifted, but you can get it for her at level 9 using Mutate. And Stitch, who, well, he's good doctor. He starts with insanely good doctoring skills. And actually a better small gun stat than anyone else, which is weird. One thing that you will note is that none of these characters have got good secondary skills. Something very much to keep in mind. Alright, stand up. There's no enemies here. I believe the enemies are, like, up in this area.
Greetings to the Brotherhood of Steel.
Greetings!
You are speaking with Charon, elder and tribal father to Brahmanwood. You have arrived none too soon. Our village has fallen to raiders who rode out of the darkness. Some of my people escaped death or bondage by fleeing into the wasteland, but without tools and shelter. This must be the doing of the Brahmin god of fate.
The Brahmin god of fate!
We trade away our present. In the Brotherhood, we trade away our future. Ah, very well, Initiate. I fully agree to your terms, but I fear this decision will haunt me till I reach the eternal grazing field in the heavens. Our villages are being held prisoner in the camp. Save them, and you will have more people to aid your cause. Lose them, and you will be cutting Brahmin from your own herd.
Brahmin from your own herd! We be Brahmin. Okay, so you can actually set your characters to take shots if they feel that they have a good enough shot. Either way, turn-based mode will activate when you enter combat and not before. The funny part is this game started off so well. I mean, there's been so much plot so far, and then you're thrust into a mission. Here I am waddling along. I probably don't need to waddle right now, actually. There's literally a guy right there. War never changes. If I remember correctly, you clean this area and then there's nothing really there. And then you go in here and clear this, and then you go in here and clear this and clear this. And then you go through this gate to clear this. And you can already see that the missions are very long. Okay, I actually just walked into combat without meaning to. This is not a good start to proceedings. Did he somehow manage to shoot us twice while being all the way over there? Okay, there goes the Doge. I don't think he can actually see me from there. So as you can see, this early phase in the game, it's your chances to hit are absolutely terrible. Did that hit? That hit. Man, he's hitting me. I wonder if it's the difficulty. Oh, I vaguely remember needing to, like, close right in tight with the enemy to actually fight them properly. Okay. crying out loud. Controls of this game are very fiddly as well. Can't remember if you can run or not. Stand, crouch, prone. I don't think. Can't remember if there's a run key. %13 chance to hit. It's not happening, is it? %. I'm like sat in this guy's face and it's 2% chance to hit. Still 2%. 10%. 12%. As you can see, it's very awkward to actually move around as well. Oof. Oh, for crying out loud. Instead of shooting again, I friggin' clicked to reload. It's really awkward controls in this game. And it's going to take some time to get used to them. I don't know if there's an autosave actually. There might be. Because this is a rough start. I think I needed to use sneak mode to actually get really close to them. And then attack. Okay, he didn't do anything. Sweet. I don't think that there's a way to retain APs either. Oh good, he changed his mind about who he wanted to shoot at. Okay, this is not helping. I could try shotgunning the guy. Fail. Oof. Oh, I just remembered the total nightmare that is the beginning of this game. Oh! He hit far sight instead of actually hitting who he was meant to be shooting at. I need to switch. I need to kill this guy. Nice! He killed the guy and he killed far sight at the same time. What an excellent start. Okay, I need to actually relearn the keys as well, because that definitely wouldn't have happened if that definitely wouldn't have happened if I'd actually learnt the controls properly. Yeah, it's gonna be a learning process. I think you can run as well. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I think it's possible to run, which is faster than just waddling around like an idiot during turn-based mode. But yeah, the chances to hit, they start off incredibly low, and so it's more luck than skill as to whether you'll survive the first mission or not. But I think you can increase your chances by sneaking up on them and just unloading at point-blank range, which is what I should have done. And unfortunately, it takes a lot of it takes a lot of effort to get your first level as well. Okay, so that's it for now. I'm gonna just reload from the beginning of this mission, and we'll go from there. And put a little bit of practice in just to make sure that I remember the controls properly, because it's kind of a weird left click to do some things, right click to do other things system, which is unlike the modern era, because it's just it faded away because it was horribly prone to misclick, and that is exactly what is going on here. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.